This is the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach and plant-powered athlete on a mission to guide all who are ready to great heights in sports performance and life. Through the 10,000-foot view, I share teachings of living awake with the sole purpose that we all realize our innate power to be the masters of our minds. And as I speak these words right now, season 3 is in the works. It's coming into physical manifestation. And through the medium of podcasts, that means through your ears, through audio, through our auditory sense, which is how our minds live. Our minds live through the senses when identified with the outside world. And then we live more through intuition and higher mind when we are also seeing the world from our vibration. Okay. Is that a good amount of depth to go into in the first sentence to give you an idea of where we're going in season 3? I'm excited. I really have no idea, but life continues, and 2021 was a massive, got called off the bench type of year in my growth as human, having grace for my human experience, deep loving compassion, forgiveness, some serious work I feel like I had the opportunity to conquer in 2021, and I did. And I would say if there's one theme that came out of it, it's just relentless gentleness, relentless kindness, relentless softness, relentless openness, like relentless gentleness. And interesting, and absolutely not so interesting, I pulled the deer card today in my medicine card. So we have, a deck of medicine cards, and we pull a card every morning. And so today's was deer, and this is one of my favorite stories, and I actually haven't pulled this card in a very long time. And it's the story of this fawn that was going to see Great Spirit and didn't know that there was an evil entity that was blocking everybody from seeing Great Spirit and getting to know Great Spirit, right? So we could say that that's our higher self, our awake athlete self. And the fawn is so pure and the fawn is so truthful that it doesn't even notice the fear of the evil entity because it's just not tuned to that darkness, to that vibe. And so what happens, because the fawn is just so loving and super gentle, but also persistent, the evil entity just melts. And so gentleness is the love that dissolves all fear. And if there's anything that's keeping us from our greatness, like from those performances that we know we are capable of, it's fear. It's fear of injury. It's fear of success. It's fear of failure. It's fear of stepping into greatness. It's fear of feeling all the things that we need to feel in order to have those performances. It's fear. It's fear because we forgot who we are, and it's fear because we forgot the ease in life. And this path of the awake athlete is a remembrance of that. And a huge piece of that is training the mind. And the foundation of the mind training as an awake athlete is meditation. There's just no substitution to the practice of meditation because the essence that creates worlds is within us. And when we are in touch with that part of us, all things are possible. And not only are all things possible, I think what the difference is that all things are possible with the least amount of effort, meaning we carry an ease, a health, a wellness about ourselves throughout the process. And I think that that's what I came here to live. And I hope that you find value in the messages in this podcast. I have switched the intro music, which is so cool because it's just a letting go of, who I was when I started this podcast and who I am now. And and to allow this to flow with an authenticity, which is like not easy because there's that part of me that always wants to go back, make it better, edit it, redo it, write it down, read it from a script and make it perfect. And I think that in that is a distrust of the present moment. And I think in that is fear that I don't want to move from. And so in order to allow it to feel so authentic and to let it flow, I have to get to know that part of myself that is carrying those words, right? These words that I'm speaking right now. And we need to begin to trust the present moment. And as athletes, I would think that you would have particular interest in the present moment because it's been deemed that that is the essence of peak performance. It is the essence of peak performance. It is the only place we are fully available for stepping into the power that I think we can only grasp a fraction of right now. But it's tuning. We are vibrational beings living in a vibrational universe. Everything is energy. That is science. And there's no thwarting scientific law. There just isn't. Everything is energy. Our thoughts are energy. Our words are energy. Our bodies are energy. Your coffee table is energy. It's all different organizations of energy into matter. But at the essence of all things, it's what in the world of science? Electrons, protons, and neutrons. And so we look at the ocean and we say, okay, that's the ocean because we need to all agree that's the ocean. We need these things to make sense of this world that we live in. But at its essence, the ocean is the same as the essence of my body, as the essence of the energy in my words, right? It all comes down to, as far as they've been able to break it down, to the tiniest subatomic particle, right? So presence is... it's that place that is devoid of time. It's the flow state. And what I found so cool about presence is it just shows up more in my life. I'm just automatically more tuned into the present moment. And one of the things I had a lot of curiosity about when I first started getting introduced to Eckhart Tolle and Michael Singer and Byron Katie was Eckhart Tolle. He said, there are no problems in the now. And I was so confused by that. And I heard that during my yoga teacher training. And so I really took it under the microscope. I really decided to get curious about that. And I realized that it was true that everything that I had worried about, all my troubles, even if it was a bill that was due at 5:00 that day and it was 8:00 in the morning, it wasn't right now. When you really look at the truth of it, there were no problems in the now. And meditation, it teaches us to watch the thoughts. It teaches us to concentrate the mind. And it really allows us to tip the scales back in our favor, where we take the reins and we use the mind, the intellect, as a tool. So it's a little bit of backing down the reverie we have right now for the intellect and realizing that there's more than just those data and information centers. There's more than just the carrying and the regurgitation of knowledge, of information, of data and information. There is actually a creative force that can move through you with ease. And that energy is that energy that creates worlds. And that's the energy that I definitely want to be racing from and definitely experience tapping into it during races. And like I said, I haven't lost that competitiveness at all. And, 2021 was a year of a lot of growing for me, but also I won my first female overall trail race, and I came in second female overall at another trail race, and I won my age group at another trail race, and I won my age group at a triathlon, and then I placed top 10 in my age group at the Malibu Triathlon, which is a really big triathlon. So it's so fun. And I really I keep relaxing more and more into this energy that is beyond physical, this energy that creates worlds when I am racing. And so, like I said, it's there's less effort, but at the same time, I am able to push my body harder. Like I feel like I'm pushing my limits more than I ever have at races and really enjoying it. So I feel like it's a byproduct of meditating and living mindfully and showing up and getting my workouts done and soaking my foot when it's sore and doing yoga and breathing into those stretches to open the posterior chain of my body and doing what I can do to set myself up for success every day. And, isn't that mastery? And so that's my ultimate goal is like, I want to be a master. Yes, a master of my mind, master of my craft. And what I think is so awesome about mastery is that it's a moment to moment process. And really, you have to be awake in the moment in order to even have a shot at mastery, because it's all about being conscious and choosing consciously and creating consciously, even if it means that you're choosing and creating from an old pattern. Even just being aware of it is massive. However, it doesn't in the long run change anything. We do have to put something into action to make those changes. And everything is always changing. But if there's something in your life that's not changing, and I looked at this within my own life, and, I see it with deep cycles with my husband, right? Like just these, which I see is such the reason we came together, is to get over these little interesting cycles we have as husband and wife. Like, we're in our communication, just, it's almost like when you're riding your bike and something happens in the chain and it kinks and all of a sudden you're like riding on the road and you can't even pedal. That's kind of what it feels like when my work comes up with my husband. It's just so obvious now, and we're getting better and better at kind of backing away at it and breathing through it. And then just seeing even if there's anything to talk to after we have that experience. And so, yeah, maybe some of those stories will be part of the stories that I share this season. I don't know, but, I find that is how I share what I've learned, is through story. And if that's the way that you enjoy learning, I think that this podcast is like perfect for you. And if you know somebody who also likes to learn from story, because I'll continue to reveal the experiences that I have in my life and how I navigate those awake, and even when I choose not to be awake, again, there's that awareness. I feel like there's always that awareness, which is the base muscle to the mind training, is the ability to have a strong relationship and focus on the present moment as we move through this life, as we hit up our training, as we check in with how we feel about a race we're signing up for, and throughout our journey forward. So also just want to take a moment to acknowledge the Awake Athlete community. So after the first season launched in 2020, I thought to myself, well, there are going to be people who want to continue this work and they don't want to drop it between seasons. And so on patreon.com/yogi triathlete, we have an Awake Athlete mental training team community. It's $65 a month right now, and that's the tier. And then there's other tiers that include that community and also include one-on-one sessions with me if you want to go really deep. I'm always up for that. And anyway, something to think about or check out, or maybe just become aware of if you're not already. What we do is, like right now, we are reading the 4 agreements and we're taking our time to do it. So we're taking a month for each agreement. Right now, we're in the 2nd agreement, which is don't take anything personally. Such a good agreement. And it's written by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's a book that I read 20 years ago. And those 4 agreements have stayed with me for those decades. And we come together once a month and we meditate together. I then produce that meditation, put it in the community for download. And then every week I post something, sometimes twice a week, but mostly once a week, as enhancers to what we're reading in 4 agreements. But there's some really cool meditations in there. There's interval training for the mind. There's lots of good breath techniques. There is optimal breathing meditations where we're getting that optimized level of CO2 in our bodies for maximum oxygen absorption. There's some really cool stuff in there. And gosh, a year and a half now of content exclusive to the mental training team. So yeah, if that speaks to you, come join us. I'm gonna peel off here for this first episode of season 3. Thanks so much for being here. And if you're not a Patreon member in general, it helps to keep this podcast. It doesn't help. It does keep this podcast commercial free. It keeps the Yogi Triathlete podcast commercial free. And so we certainly appreciate your support. If you're taking something away and putting it into action and just keeping that energy exchange going is keeps things really clean. And also it just brings another level of value to what it is that we're consuming, right, in this life, or that we're learning from in this life. So, all right, peace out, yogis.